Hey guys, welcome back to today's episode. Today actually we are doing something a little bit... It's okay. Nothing like a cut in the beginning of the video. I usually have to do like 10, 15 times of this. Hey guys, so welcome back to today's episode. Today we're doing something a little bit different, as you can see from where I am right now. So today I actually came over to my friend's house because he just recently got a niche zero grinder that he's been trying to get for like months. And before that, he was actually using this. I'm not sure if you guys can see it in the video clearly. This is the Eureka, the Atom 75. So this is actually two very different grinders. The Eureka is a flat burr grinder that have a very high RPM. This one turns at about 1400 RPM, where the niche obviously is with a conical burr set that have a very low RPM. I didn't know how low it was until I just literally looked it up just now. It goes at a 330 RPM. So it's actually a very low RPM but high torque grinder. So this actually presents a very interesting opportunity for me because I've always been curious about if there is a actual difference between the taste of a flat burr grinder and a conical burr set grinder. So anyways, in this video, we are going to be making 4 cups of drinks, 2 from each one of these grinders, and do a very unscientific blind test to see if there's and difference from a home barista's perspective as far as flavor is concerned. All right, let's get down to it. All right, so like I said, we will be making 4 drinks in total. So we will be making 1 latte from each one of these machines, as well as 1 pour-over from each one of these machines. Now, in theory, the higher RPM grinders are a bit better suited for bringing out flavors such as chocolate and nuttiness, whereas the lower RPM grinders are a bit better at enhancing those floral and fruity notes. So for today's episode, I am going to be making the geisha that I have left over from counterculture. And this is obviously a very floral and a very fruity bean. And of course, it's also a very light roast bean as well. And since I've been using this bean for the past several weeks, I think this will be a good reference point for us to do this test on. However, besides the RPM difference between these two grinders, the Eureka Atom 75, as the name implies, have a 75mm burr set, whereas the niche have a slightly smaller burr set at 63mm. The bigger burr sets usually leads to a more uniform ground, and that's something I will also be paying attention to when I'm doing these tests. So anyways, let's get down to our first brew. So we are going to be making 2 batches of pour-overs with 20 grams of coffee each. And the method I'll be using for the pour-over today will be the 40-60 method. And just to keep everything neutral, I'll be doing 20 grams in, and we're aiming for a 300 gram yield. We'll be dividing the pours into 5 times of 60 grams of water at about 202 degrees Fahrenheit. So my friend actually does not have a gooseneck kettle in this house, but we do have a somewhat of a temperature controlled kettle, so we'll be using that. But at the very least, we are using the same equipment, so that's consistent. All right, so here's the first batch. All right, so the first thing I want to mention before we get down to brewing is that the Eureka is so much faster than the niche zero in terms of speed. 20 grams of coffee probably took about 1 second to fully grind out. Usually on the niche, it's a lot slower. But anyways, that is to be expected from a more of a commercial grade grinder at a very high RPM. Okay, and as you can see, we are going to be using a V60 brewer today. Again, just doing sort of what the best we can with a normal water pitcher here. And just to explain, with the 40-60 method, we are allowing the water to fully drain from the ground before we do our next pour. The pour is actually it's going pretty well as of right now. Just by looking at the ground, it does look slightly bit more uniform than the niche zero that I've tested before. However, I'm not sure there's a huge enough difference to create a difference in the result. But definitely you do see less of those smaller, finer grounds. You know, most of the grounds are, again, just for lack of better words, a bit more uniform. Right, the niche zero brew. The lunar is a little bit small for Pourover, so. Okay, we're just about done with the niche zero side as well. So let me go ahead and set this one aside. So what I'm going to do next is I'm simply going to split those 2 cups of coffee and have someone else mix it up for me so I don't know which one's which. And just sort of give it a taste to see if there's one that I like better. All right, so just give us a moment and we'll be right back with that. All right, so we went ahead and sort of randomized the cups. I don't really have a sort of a actual coffee cup, but try to find 2 cups that's as uniform as we can. So it's 2 teacups. But anyway, so we're gonna go ahead and taste this. My friend is just right off frame, and let's see if we can actually taste the difference. You know which one's which, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, so I guess I'll go with this one first.
Whatever.
I want to say this one, the left-hand one, slightly sweeter. Yeah, definitely. Okay, so I think this one, my left hand, it's a bit more floral. If I were to guess, I want to say this is the niche, right? So yeah, so if I want to guess, I think this is the niche and this is the Eureka.
Yeah, I think this one's the niche. This one's probably the Eureka. This one is also a little more bitter.
It's a slight bit. I think it's not like a huge amount of difference.
This one's definitely more tea-like, floral.
Yeah.
You guys are so accurate.
Yay! So we got it right. All right. So I guess, I mean, as far as Pourover is concerned, I mean, Pourovers in general, I think does enhance a little bit more of the flavor than espresso or just milk drinks in general. I don't know. Honestly, I think I'll be happy with either one of these two. It's not like a drastic enough difference that I would say definitely get one of these over the other. I think it's whichever one that you prefer to have your hands on. That's what I think as of this current point. But yeah, definitely the lower RPM I think does a great job at sort of enhancing that more of a floral and fruity note. So anyways, with that said, let's move on to the latte. All right, so we kind of just discussed about the logistics of doing this a little bit just now. If we were to actually make a cup of latte, we might be letting the espresso sit there on the counter for way too long, and that might end up changing sort of the flavor profile a little bit. So instead, what we are gonna do is I'm gonna be splitting the shot for both of these portions, and we'll be brewing into sort of 2 sets of the same identical cup that we had before. So this way, it will hopefully eliminate the amount of time that we have the espresso sit on the counter. And what we'll be essentially making is not a full-size latte, but sort of like mini cortado shots, right? So again, we're going for sort of a 1-to-1 ratio between the espresso as well as the milk. In that case, we will hopefully be able to steam 1 pitcher of milk and pour all 4 at the same time, and then have someone else sort of just mix it up, and then we give it a taste and see if we can tell if there's any difference. With that said, right now we have 18 grams of beans in the Niche Zero, and we have 18 grams of beans in the Eureka Atom 75. The first thing we're gonna do is grind both of these out and then see how fast I can work with the Mazzafiato here. This can't be more. This can't be all of it. Oh, there's still. Wow, it's actually retained a lot more than I thought. Okay, so for the Eureka, the espresso ground actually retained quite a bit more than I had anticipated. It retained almost a whole gram. So we added some more beans. But then again, I might have dropped some onto the counter here, so it might have been some of my human error as well. Okay, same, we're just gonna go ahead and WDT this a little bit. See if I remember how to do this. Wow, it's actually not too bad at all. So we actually got our 36 grams of espresso in just about 28 seconds. Yay, pretty spot on in terms of dialing this in. All right, so this is the Eureka. Keep track of that. Cool. Yeah, so this is actually something that I haven't tried before either. So since the machine that I have at home, obviously with the Breville, is with a smaller portafilter. So it's kind of nice to finally be able to actually use the dosing cup out of the niche and just dose directly into the portafilter. Again, quickly, WDT. Now, second shot from the niche. Okay, so the niche is about 30 seconds for 36 grams out. Okay, so while I'm gonna go ahead and steam the milk, go ahead and keep an eye on this. I'm gonna cut that out because I just turned on the wrong hose. Steaming with the more powerful steam mode is just so much easier. All right, not the best milk that I've ever made, but again, that's not the point here. All right, so these are already pre-mixed. So again, this will be from one of the grinders, don't know which one. This will be the other one. And just a quick 1-to-1 ratio. All right, so hopefully I've done that, as fast as I could. Hopefully, the actual waiting time didn't affect the taste. Let's go. Oh, one of them is a lot brighter. This is a lot brighter.
Yeah.
Brighter, brighter, brighter. Oh, this is tough. This one, I'm guessing
This one is definitely Eureka. This one's definitely niche. The niche, I always feel like is always a lot more mellow. So that's why I feel like flat is really good if you want really heavy milk drinks. Because it cuts through the fat a lot.
somehow I'm feeling a bit of opposite from you
Yeah,
in
well,
this
maybe.
particular
It's
point.
up to you.
I don't know if any one of us is right. Okay, so for me, this one, it's a lot brighter. And this one is actually a little bit more mellow.
Yeah. Oh, well, I don't know which one's which. But
Yeah.
this cup I feel like is the niche for me. This one's.
Okay, so I want to say this is the niche and this is the Eureka.
You're right.
Yes. So, well, anyway. Yeah, so I'm right. Right, so basically, I mean, this one is a bit more sort of rounded for me. It's just that overall, yeah, mellow is, I mean, I guess it's more, it's definitely a personal preference sort of thing and what you think, you know, mellow means to you. But this one, just overall, it have a bit of a brighter acidity. It just I guess like a brighter, sharper would be like the way to describe it. And the niche is definitely a bit more rounder cup of drinks. I think for both of these, I do prefer the one from the niche better than the one from the Eureka. But I would definitely say if you are looking for more of that nutty and chocolate taste, the Eureka might actually be a bit more preferable. Just because I think it would pair a little bit better if you have sort of a less mellow shot. All right, so that was our little sort of blind test between these two machines. So one thing that was a little bit surprising to me was that I thought I was going to be able to taste a bit more difference in pourovers. However, I was able to taste a much bigger difference in terms of the mini cortado shots that we made. It might have been due to the fact that the espresso is just a bit more concentrated. However, I thought that by adding milk, you would sort of mellow out everything a lot more. Again, just to clarify to you guys, we tried to dial in both of these machines to the best of our ability. And of course, there are still some variables that are not completely the same while we are doing this sort of at-home test. For your day-to-day practical usage, some variables are to be expected. So with that said, in my opinion, for someone who likes sort of a lighter roast and more of a fruity, more floral notes from my coffee, definitely prefer the Niche Zero a little bit more. This might actually just be a bias from using this machine for the past 6 months. But as far as, again, today's test is concerned, I definitely feel like I like the flavor out of the Niche a little bit more than the Eureka. But down the line, Eureka is going to be making a single dose grinder with a flat burr that is sort of taking aim directly at the Niche Zero. So I'm definitely looking forward to see how that's going to turn out. All right, so hopefully this little experiment is helpful for those of you guys at home that might be deciding between one of these two machines. And definitely for those of you guys that are choosing between a higher and a lower RPM grinder. With that said, I definitely see the point of having a variable RPM grinders. So similar to the one that Weber is currently making. So this way, depending on if you are feeling like having a dark roast coffee or like a light roast coffee or a floral versus a nutty coffee, this way you have the freedom to change up the RPM accordingly. All right, so this has been a lot of fun. If you guys are new here, definitely take a moment and hit the subscribe button. Of course, like the video and share this if you find this to be helpful. And that's it for this one. I'm gonna help my friend clean up and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.